Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome to a brand new Fallout 76 video, and today we are taking a look at the Test Your Metal public event that is currently doing the rounds on the public test server. Okay, so before we get stuck in, usual little heads up. This is, of course, unreleased content. It is on the public test server at the moment, so everything is, of course, subject to change. Also, there will be a couple of tiny little spoilers in this one, so if you wanted to avoid those prior to this event going live, this would be your opportunity to duck out now. So, are we all good? Right then, let's have a look at this event. So, Test Your Metal is a brand new public event that is coming up on the PTS at the moment. It's not going to be released in March with the Invaders from Beyond update, it's going to be later on. We don't exactly know when, but sometime later in the year. But it's a public event, so it's much like, say, Line in the Sand or Radiation Rumble or anything like that. It's basically going to pop up in those 20-minute slots as and when they do. It takes place up in the Northern Savage Divide at a spot called the Metal Dome, which is actually in the game already. You can actually check that out if you want to right now. It's changed a tiny little bit when it goes live, but the basic location is there. It's pretty cool, actually. Well worth having a look around. If you head up to Sunnytop Station and then just run south down the train tracks, you will find it there. It's a little bit north of Fort Atlas and not too far from Monongah either. So very, very cool little spot. If you're into photo mode, check it out because there's some really cool pictures you can get in there, some really cool angles, things like that. It's a really good location. So definitely worth a look. So the gist of this event is that a new group of raiders, specifically called the Rust Eagles, who are an offshoot of the Blood Eagles, funnily enough. They're a lot like the Rust Devils from Fallout 4, but less insane, to be honest. They're not going to attack you on sight, they just kind of hang out around the Metal Dome. But they are building robots and testing them out in a gladiatorial arena that is very, very Mad Max. It's definitely a Thunderdome type vibe. So this is the Metal Dome that's kind of dug down into the ground and also has a big metal dome over the top of it, or sort of half sphere, I suppose, made out of girders and stuff. It's very cool. The Brotherhood of Steel, specifically Scribe Valdez, has sent a team up to the Metal Dome to check this out. Basically, there's a group of raiders moving in with powerful combat bots. They kind of want to know what their neighbours are up to, because it's really not that far from Fort Atlas. You can literally just look up and see it on the horizon, so quite a cool concept. So you head over there and meet Initiate Pappas, who is a surprisingly low-ranking individual to be leading this kind of expedition, actually. But he seems like quite a cool character. He seems like a fairly nice chap. And his little team of Brotherhood members have been competing in these gladiatorial contests against the Rust Eagles robots. Basically, we chat to him. He's got already a decent amount of conversation that you can have with him. See a little bit at the start of the event. And you get a bit of background, you find out a bit about him, about the Rust Eagles and so on and so forth. And there are a couple of Rust Eagles hanging around you can talk to as well, which is also quite cool. But once you start the event, you head down into the Metal Dome. And we get 3 rounds of combat against robots. So, much like most of 76, there are those sort of cylinders that robots are assembled in. The same thing is true in the Metal Dome, and they basically spit out robots every so often that you have to take down. The goal is to keep 3 members of the Brotherhood team that are in the Metal Dome with you alive during the course of 3 rounds, take out the robots, and if you do so, you get ranked rewards based on how well you succeed. So basically, there's 3 members of the team. You can stimpack them if they go down, but if all 3 are alive at the end of 3 rounds, then you'll get the best rewards, as per usual with this sort of thing. If some of them start going down, you get fewer rewards. So it seems to be running pretty well, this event so far, I've got to admit. Given that they're putting it on the PTS really early and not expecting it to be out till probably the summer, I would guess, it's in remarkably good shape. I mean, I think they could probably drop it into the game in the condition it's in, based on the couple of playthroughs I've had of it so far. But see, it's kind of hard to get the hang of. Bethesda have increased the frequency with which this event comes up on the PTS, as of Friday, which is good. I did suggest they do that, because obviously previously all of the public events were in rotation, whereas now it's just Test Your Metal plus the few that relate to Invaders from the Stars. So it does pop up a lot more often, but getting into it is a bit challenging at times. It's still a certain amount of random on the PTS. Obviously, once it goes live, it will go into the usual rotation. And to be honest for that, I wouldn't mind seeing Bethesda knock 5 minutes off the timer, because I would really like to see more of these new public events. This one's good, it's a good addition. Let's have some more, just to, you know, keep variety in there, spice things up a little bit. But as it stands, that every 20 minutes thing gives you a little bit of leeway and a little bit of messing around time after you finish each event, but only having 3 or so an hour is not quite enough to keep you busy if you're concentrating on them as well, so 15 minutes might be a better bet for it, depending on the length of the event, of course, so that's the other thing they'd have to factor in, I suppose. But the more stuff they put in, the more often it will be nice to see it pop, so you get a better chance to see a better range. Well, obviously, players are only on for so long. But yeah, it's running fairly well so far. The one potential possible issue I did notice, and I should qualify this by saying it could just have been me messing up, is that I did have to run over and stimpack a couple of the initiates that are in the Brotherhood team that you have to keep alive during the event, and you run over, same as you do with a fallen player, you run over and just stimpack them. When I did it, it didn't work. Now, I'm not sure if this is because I managed to interrupt the effort to stimpack them and I ran off to the next one too quickly or something like that, or if it was just a bit unreliable. It could be either way, it's hard to tell, really. I've only had the one incident where I could test that, so we'll have to see. But if it's just me, then the thing's working fine. If it's not, well, it's on the PTS and I've got loads of time to fix it. So that's fair, to be honest. So the event's pretty good length. I'll say it's 3 rounds with ever-increasing difficulties of robots. The sort of difficulty level seems pretty good. If you've only got 1 or 2 people in there, it can be quite hard to keep all of the Brotherhood team members alive. But if you've got a decent-sized number of people in there, then you don't have too much problem with it, which is cool. So I think the balance is probably about right. I mean, I imagine if you're moving reasonably quickly and you've got particularly high damage weapons, you'd probably be able to solo this, which is true of many of the public events as well. Not all of them, but many of them. Some of them are a bit just too spread out to solo, really, but this one should be manageable if you've got a high damage build. Maybe not so much if you're bloodied, given that the robots themselves do put out a fair bit of punishment, so I can imagine bloody players would go down quite a lot, so that's something maybe to be aware of. But on the whole, I think the balance is pretty decent so far. So the event does seem to have a new set of unique rewards to it, which is cool. Obviously, you've got standard stuff dropping, like stimpaks, purified water, caps, occasional chems, all the stuff you'd usually expect to get. Also, legendary cores, that sort of thing. Those all drop from it as well, and treasury notes too. But the new stuff that I've seen so far would appear to be a new set of armor, and basically it's robot armor, but it's a little bit different. It's called Botsmith armor, and basically it's got a slightly different style to the regular robot armor. It's got different color scheme, stuff like that. It looks to be slightly lighter in its way of being assembled, although that may just be the tier that I happened to craft at the time I checked it out, so maybe not reading too much into that. But these stats are also slightly different to the existing robot armor. The existing robot armor gives you more protection against energy and radiation, whereas the Botsmith stuff reduces that down a bit and boosts up the ballistic damage resistance. So I don't think, based on what I've seen so far, this is likely to replace any of the top tier armors at all. I think obviously Secret Service armor and Brotherhood Recon armor are still going to be the top 2 for general, discounting power armor, obviously. But there's another option in there. It's kind of cool, it's kind of fun. Maybe as a collector's item, I don't know. But also, if you're making your way up with a relatively new character, then it might be good to grab some of this stuff and use that until you're able to get higher tier armors like the Secret Service stuff. So, yeah, all in all, it's quite a fun little event. It's not too long. It's not the shortest public event either. It's a good balance. It runs reasonably well. It's fun, you know, you're just taking out robots, moving around. The middle of the arena, the metal dome, does have a lot of radiation in it, so that's something to be aware of. There's some sort of high points in there, big rocks sticking up, that are good places to hang out so you can get a view of all the bots and basically cover the whole metal dome. Problem is you're going to get very quickly irradiated if you hang around there, fairly quickly anyway. So moving around is probably a good way to go. It's actually not a bad way to get people to move around, really. It's quite cool. And obviously you've got destroyed vehicles and other bits and pieces in there as well to make the terrain a bit more interesting. I mean, you have to move around so you can get line of sight on the enemies rather than just sitting in the centre, which is cool. It works quite nicely. I think it's a good fun event. It's got a little bit of lore, some new characters around it, which is always fun. And as I say, for something that is a good 5 months potentially still out from actually hitting the live servers, it's really quite in good condition, which is cool. It's running really well. So fingers crossed that will continue, and hopefully I'll get an opportunity to play a little bit more at some point on the PTS. So yeah, on that note, that's basically everything I wanted to say about this new event. I quite like it. It's nice to see a new event getting added into rotation, even if it is a little way off yet. I definitely want to see more stuff like this added in. It's going to be very, very cool. I think there's a few good things lined up for the rest of the year that we've got to look at so far. Obviously, you might have seen some of the data mines about the upcoming expeditions as well, and those look interesting with multiple sets of things you have to do to progress through them, and different locations within the larger pit for the first one and stuff like that. Looks like it's going to be pretty cool and have a fair bit that you can do, which should be fun. I'm looking forward to getting stuck into those as well. So, yeah, there's some cool stuff on the horizon for this year that we've seen so far, and obviously we've yet to see the roadmap. That'll probably be March, so definitely looking forward to seeing a bit more about that, see what other good things Bethesda have got lined up for us this year. So, I do hope you found this useful and informative and enjoyed a little look at this new upcoming event. If you did, please do consider dropping subs and likes for me. I do very, very much appreciate it. Down below the video, you can find social media links, the merch store, and channel memberships on that blue join button as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in that way, I very, very, very much appreciate that as well. Thank you very much to everyone who's done that already. And of course, do join us for live streams as well. We are playing Fallout 76, obviously, and we're playing Control as well on the side, which is good fun at the moment. So do hope you'll join for those. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.